Easter brunch with the in-laws was already off to a rocky start. When I walked in, someone told me to just find a spot on the floor. Nate's cousin let out a laugh and said, "We didn't plan for plus ones." I smiled stiffly and said, "That's fine. But what I brought with me? That sure wasn't planned either." Without a word, I slid a foreclosure notice across the table. The laughter died right then and there. "Just grab a spot on the floor," Rachel repeated, not even glancing up at me. I stood in the doorway, still holding the lemon tart I had baked at 2 in the morning, because God forbid someone brings anything store-bought to Aunt Cheryl's sacred Easter brunch. "Oh," I said slowly, blinking like I didn't quite get it. "No room at the table?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Rachel gave a little giggle and sipped her mimosa. "We didn't plan for plus ones," she said again. I looked at her, straight-faced. "I'm Nate's wife," I reminded her. She finally looked up at me with a sugary smile, all fake sweetness. "Right," she said. "But you weren't on the list." A few of the cousins chuckled. Someone muttered, "Awkward," under their breath. Nate, my husband, was all the way across the room, chatting with Uncle Mark, completely oblivious that I was still standing there like some unwanted tagalong. "Where should I put the pie?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. Rachel waved a hand in the direction of the back. "There's a little folding table in the laundry room," she said. "We're using it for overflow snacks or whatever." My jaw clenched. "Oh, and watch your step," she added. "The dog peed there earlier, but I think it's cleaned up now." Someone snorted. Aunt Cheryl passed by right at that moment, offering me a tight-lipped smile. "You know how it is, too many people, not enough chairs," she said. "That's why I told Rachel no plus ones." "I'm not a plus one," I said, my voice sharper now. "I'm family." Cheryl gave a little shrug. "Of course you are, sweetheart. We're just running out of space. Maybe next year we'll rent some extra tables." I stood there, still in my coat, still holding the pie, watching as everyone drank, laughed, and carried on like I was invisible. And then something in me just snapped. I walked straight toward the main table, heels hitting the floor hard with every step. The whole room quieted the second they noticed me. I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. Rachel looked at me with that same fake grin and asked, "What's that?" I didn't answer. Instead, I set the envelope right between the deviled eggs and the glazed ham. Then I turned on my heel and headed for the door. Someone called after me, "Wait, what is that?" I paused at the doorway, glanced back over my shoulder, and said, "Something I didn't plan on bringing. But maybe you can find some room for it on the floor." And with that, I walked out, leaving the room in stunned silence. I hadn't even made it to the car before the first scream came from inside. Rewind 5 hours. I was standing in the bathroom, hands shaking, staring at my reflection. I'd curled my hair, done my makeup just right, picked out some pastel dress I didn't even like, all just to try and fit in with a family that never really accepted me. "You're going for Nate," I whispered to myself. "Not for them." That's what I always told myself. Because deep down I knew they never truly welcomed me. Not when we got engaged. Not at our wedding. Not even after 5 years of marriage. I was never one of them. I was just Nate's plus one with a decent credit score. And it started way back. At our wedding, I overheard Aunt Cheryl lean over to Nate's mom and whisper, "She's not really our type. Maybe it's just a phase." His mom nodded and said, "We all go through weird phases. He'll grow out of it." I heard every word. I swallowed it, told myself it didn't matter, they just didn't know me yet. So I tried harder. I cooked for every holiday, offered to give people rides, never forgot a birthday. Still, nothing changed. When Nate lost his job during COVID, I picked up extra freelance gigs to help out, and still brought wine to every single dinner. When Uncle Don's business tanked, I co-signed a loan to bail him out. Nobody else could. Nobody else even offered. Nate didn't object. He just said, "It means a lot to them." When Rachel got laid off for a bit, I pulled strings with my company's HR to get her an interview. She ghosted it. And at dinner, she joked, "Good thing I didn't have to work under your control freak energy." I forced a laugh. But something inside me cracked a little. I kept telling myself, "Just keep giving. They'll love you once they see how much you care." So I gave. At Christmas, I bought iPads, books, even a bike for Nate's nieces and nephews. Meanwhile, everyone else gave them socks or $10 Target cards. When Aunt Shira wanted a new kitchen, I chipped in for the down payment. When Nate's mom was drowning in credit card debt, I paid it off and let her take the credit. Not a single thank you. But I kept going. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, if I gave enough, they'd stop treating me like I didn't belong. But it only got worse. Last Thanksgiving, they literally sat me at the kids' table. With assigned name tags. Mine said, Emily, Nate's wife. Not Emily. Not family. Just a role. A label. Like I didn't exist outside of him. I leaned over to Nate and whispered, "Why am I sitting with the kids?" He shrugged and said, "It's just for seating. Don't take it personally." But let's be honest, it was always personal whether they said it or not. I saw the way they gushed over Rachel bringing store-bought pies, all smiles and excuses. "She's just so busy, bless her heart," they'd say, while giving me the side-eye for not making my crust from scratch like some sort of culinary martyr. One time, I overheard Cheryl talking in the kitchen, not realizing I was just a few feet behind her. "She tries way too hard," she said. "You can smell the desperation." Another woman laughed right along with her. "She thinks she can buy her way into the family," one of them said. And maybe that wasn't too far off. Maybe I really did believe that if I just kept giving, eventually someone would say, "You belong." But instead, all I ever got were compliments behind closed doors. To my face, I was too much. Overbearing. Hyper-involved. Too emotional. Too sensitive. One night, I finally worked up the courage to ask Nate, "Do they even like me?" He was half asleep when I said it. Rolled over and mumbled, "They're just used to how things have always been. Don't take it personally." That was always the line, wasn't it? It's not personal. Except it was my money. My time. My energy. My actual life that I kept putting on hold for people who treated me like I was just something seasonal, an extra decoration they dusted off for holidays and tossed aside afterward. And then Easter rolled around. When Nate told me we were invited to brunch again, I sighed and asked, "Can we skip this one? Maybe go see my parents instead?" He shook his head. "You know they'd take that personally." "Of course. It's tradition." Tradition where I bankroll the brunch, they smile for pictures, and I get to sit on a plastic chair shoved into a corner. So, like always, I baked the lemon tart. I picked up flowers. I packed little gifts for the kids. And after staring at that envelope for 2 straight nights, I finally slipped it into my bag. Just in case. I told myself I wouldn't use it. Told myself I was better than that. But when Rachel looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Just grab a spot on the floor," something inside me broke. Years of giving. Thousands of dollars. Countless little sacrifices. And still, the only thing they saw in me was someone who didn't deserve a seat at the table. So I set the pie down. I smiled. I reached into my bag. And at that moment I knew, this Easter, they weren't just getting a taste of lemon tart. They were about to find out what it feels like to ignore someone until she stops trying. But I wasn't going to make a scene. Not yet. Let them laugh. Let them sip their bottom shelf wine and pass around deviled eggs like everything's fine. Let them think they're still running the show. Until someone opened that envelope. That's when they'd realize they should have made room for more than just another folding chair. I didn't expect them to read it right away. But of course, they couldn't help themselves. In this family, gossip means more than grace. I was halfway down the walkway when the front door slammed open behind me. "Emily!" It was Rachel, storming out with her heels clacking on the porch and that envelope waving in her hand. "What is this?" she yelled. I turned around slowly. "You opened it," I said, keeping my tone flat. "Didn't think you'd be able to wait." "What does this mean?" she said, voice high and shaking. "Foreclosure? Are you saying my dad's losing the building?" I crossed my arms. "No," I said. "I'm saying I'm done covering for him." The door swung open wider behind her. Cheryl came out, looking panicked and flushed. Then Nate's uncle stepped forward, pale as a ghost. "You're not serious," he said, his voice low and shaky. "You wouldn't." I would, I told him. And I already did. I locked eyes with him. 6 months, I said. 6 months of no payments. After I co-signed. After I stuck my neck out. You think I'm gonna ruin my credit for a man who won't even acknowledge me at brunch? More of the family started to drift outside now. Nate, the cousins, even the kids quieted down and watched. What's going on? Nate finally asked, stepping up beside me, his voice low and uneasy. Your family's about to learn what happens when they treat someone like a doormat with a credit card, I said. Rachel threw her hands up. This is insane, she said, half laughing. Is it? I said, tilting my head. Or is it just the first time I've ever said no, and now you don't know what to do with that? Cheryl walked slowly down the stairs toward me, arms folded like a disappointed schoolteacher. We're family, she said softly. You don't threaten family. I let out a laugh. But, please. No, you use family, I snapped. You use them to pay for your messes and then act like they should be grateful to sit on the floor and stay silent. Cheryl's voice went cold. You're overreacting. Really? I said, taking a step toward her. Who paid for your kitchen remodel last year? Who covered your appliances when your savings suddenly disappeared? Her face turned red. That was a gift. No, I shot back. That was me, trying to earn a spot at this table. I turned to Rachel. Who got you that interview at my job and vouched for you? You ghosted it. Then you called me controlling. And I let it go. Rachel looked down, unable to meet my eyes. I turned to Nate's uncle. Who took out a loan in your name just so you wouldn't lose the property? I asked. And who covered your missed payments for 3 straight months so no one would be embarrassed? He looked at the ground, saying nothing. I looked around the porch. And what did I get in return? I asked. You laughed at me behind my back. Called me desperate. Told me to sit on the damn floor. The silence was deafening. And then Nate finally spoke. Emily, he said, this isn't the right time or place. I turned on him. Oh yeah, I said. Then when is the right time, Nate? Because I've waited 5 years for you to speak up when they treated me like I didn't belong. 5 years of you just shrugging it off, saying they didn't mean it. His face went pale. I took a breath and steadied myself. You know what? I said. You're right. This isn't the time. Because I should have never even been here. And then from behind the crowd, a voice spoke up. It was Cheryl's husband. This is dramatic. It's just money, Cheryl said. And that, right there, that's what did it. Just money. I repeated, louder now. Just money. You don't know what I gave up for this family. The vacations I never took. The emergencies in my own life I ignored just so I could help with yours. But you never saw any of it, because you never once cared enough to ask. I turned toward Nate. You never asked either. The silence after that settled like fog. Heavy. Lingering. Cheryl blinked a few times. So you'd really let the bank take the property, she said, her voice tight. Just to make a point? I shook my head. No. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm setting a boundary. Rachel gave this little scoff and muttered, Well, you've officially ruined Easter. No, I told her calmly. You ruined it the moment you decided I didn't deserve a place at the table. Then I looked Nate straight in the eyes. You've got a choice to make, I said. You can stay here and keep pretending this is all okay. Or you can come with me and finally stop being the son who never speaks up. His mouth opened like he was about to say something. Then it closed again. And stayed shut. No one moved. So I did. I turned around, walked to my car and drove off. I didn't rush. I didn't peel out of the driveway. I drove slow and steady while Easter brunch collapsed behind me in stunned, messy silence. They never truly saw me as family. And now? They never will again. But I didn't cry. Not in the car. Not when I got home. Not even the next morning. Instead, I slept 12 straight hours of deep, quiet rest. No tossing. No bad dreams. No mental checklists whispering what I forgot. No budget math keeping me awake. Just peace. When I finally woke up, sunlight was pouring through the windows like I hadn't seen it in ages. Or maybe I just hadn't noticed it until now. The house was still. Nate hadn't come home that night. Or the next. He did send a text. Just one. They're really upset. I need to calm things down. I stared at the screen for a solid 10 seconds. Then I deleted the message. By the third day, I had the locks changed. By day 5, I'd packed all his stuff and left it on the porch in tidy, labeled boxes, one marked bedroom, another office, and one for memorabilia. He never came for them. I think he knew better. And somewhere in that silence that followed, something unexpected happened. I came back to life. I blasted music through the house. Not Nate's mellow jazz, but loud guitars and women screaming into microphones. I drank wine straight from the bottle, barefoot in the kitchen, dancing like nobody was watching. I wore silk pajamas until noon, cranked the air conditioner without guilt, and lit candles until the wax spilled over the sides. I stopped shrinking myself to fit into someone else's idea of acceptable. And then the letters started rolling in. The first one came from the bank, official notice confirming foreclosure proceedings. Unless someone paid the full balance by month's end, the property would be repossessed. My name was still on the paperwork. But not this time. This time, I wasn't paying a single cent. Then came an email from Cheryl. No greeting. No signature. Just a cold, clipped message. You'll regret this. This from the same woman who once asked me to host her baby shower. Who had cried when I surprised her with a birthday cake that had her dog's name frosted across the top. Next came a text from Rachel. No words, just a photo attachment. A screenshot. It was from a group chat I'd never seen before. The name? Operations Seating Chart. My name popped right up in the thread, Emily. Rachel, do we have to put her at the table? Cheryl, she's not real family. Nate's mom, maybe a stool in the kitchen? Or the floor? And then there it was. From Nate. She won't complain. She never does. And the one that cracked something wide open in my chest. She's used to being left out. She'll survive. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone across the room or fall to the floor in sobs. I just laughed. Not because it was funny, but because for the first time, I saw it clearly. Nate didn't stay silent all these years because he didn't notice what was happening. He stayed silent because he agreed. I was never truly one of them. I was just a convenience. A wallet. A support beam they leaned on when they felt shaky. And I had finally stopped holding them up. I forwarded the screenshot to my lawyer. Called the bank to confirm I wouldn't be liable once the sale went through. Their little house of cards was toppling, and for once, I wasn't standing underneath it. I ignored every call that came after. Even when Nate reached out again 3 days later. Can we talk? The message said. They're saying you're blowing this out of proportion. I left him on read. The next week, I was curled up on the couch watching the menu, bowl of popcorn in my lap, when there was a knock at the door. I muted the TV and got up. I half expected Cheryl. Maybe Nate. But instead, it was Brian. Nate's cousin. The quiet, awkward one who always looked a little misplaced, like he was never fully comfortable, no matter where he stood. He held a manila folder and looked like he hadn't slept in days. I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, he said, but I think you need to look at this. I didn't say a word. Just stepped aside and let him in. He sat at the dining table, opened the folder, and spread the pages like he was about to deliver a court case. Inside were printed documents, screenshots, statements, photos of banking apps. One of them showed a credit card application with my name right there at the top. This is yours, right? He asked, tapping it gently. Only, you didn't open this account. I started flipping through. And the color drained from my face. Home Depot. Chase Freedom. Capital One. All under my name. Charges I didn't recognize. Purchases I never made. A line of credit linked to my social security number. Used to pay for home renovation supplies. Retreat bookings. Even a wedding dress boutique in Sedona. Brian pointed to a list of transactions. These are tied to Rachel's account, he explained. She used your PayPal to make the payments. Claimed you were reimbursing her. I just blinked. How'd she even get into my PayPal? I asked, my voice a whisper now. Brian hesitated, then said, "You used it once. At Cheryl's place. On the family computer." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice dropped lower. "They copied your login. Then they guessed your password reset questions using info from Nate's Facebook." My chest tightened. It felt like the walls were closing in. "How long has this been going on?" I managed to ask. "Over a year," he said quietly. "But that's not even the worst part." He reached back into the folder and pulled out another document. It was a copy of the warehouse loan. Only now it was refinanced. Without me knowing, my name was still there. My digital signature too. He looked up at me, serious now. "I think they forged it," he said. "And I think I can help prove it." I dropped into a chair like my legs finally gave out beneath me. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you come forward now?" His face twitched. Something between guilt and pain. "Embarrassment," he said. "Shame, maybe." Then he looked me dead in the eye. "They did this to me once too," he said. "Used my name to co-sign a second car loan. Then they defaulted. Let my credit go up in flames. I let it go," he said. "Told myself it was family. That's what we do, right?" He leaned in, voice steady. "But they don't stop. They just move on to the next person." I stared at the folder again, at all the little pieces of the puzzle that now made way too much sense. All those years I thought I was helping? Turns out I was just being taken. Not just emotionally manipulated, but actually stolen from. It wasn't kindness. It was fraud. Identity theft. A full-blown operation, and I was the easiest mark. Brian leaned closer. "I'm pressing charges," he said. "And you should too." I let out a slow, shaky breath. "They're gonna deny everything," I said. He nodded. "I know. That's why we go in together. 2 separate complaints. Same exact pattern. They can't sweep it under the rug if we're standing on it." I stared at the documents in front of me. It was all there. Not hearsay. Not feelings. Proof. This wasn't about guilt anymore. Or even justice. It was about facts. Evidence. I looked back at Brian and smiled, small at first, then wider. "Let's burn the whole damn thing down." The court date got set for mid-May. By then, 2 of the fraudulent credit cards had been officially wiped off my record. The warehouse loan had defaulted on them, not me. Rachel's bank account? Frozen. Cheryl's Home Depot card? Flagged. Turns out using someone else's identity to bankroll your family's shopping spree isn't just sleazy, it's straight up criminal. Their lawyer tried to spin it like a misunderstanding. Brian and I? We called it what it was, a pattern. By the end of that first hearing, the judge ordered an independent forensic audit. I walked out of that courthouse in heels and dark sunglasses, the kind you wear when you don't care who's looking, because you know they're looking. And oh, they were. News travels fast in Nate's family. The infamous Easter brunch group chat? Deleted. Gone. Rachel? Ghosted off Instagram. Cheryl? Suddenly holding prayer circles to heal our broken unity. Even Nate finally broke radio silence and called. I didn't answer, but I did listen to the voicemail. "I didn't know it would go this far," he said. "Can we talk? Please? They're saying you ruined the family." I played the message once, then deleted it. I didn't ruin anything. I just turned on the lights and let the roaches scatter. About a week later, I was sitting at this little coffee shop across town, the one I love, where nobody refers to me as Nate's wife, when I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from Jenna Kay, Brian's wife, the accountant. "Hey Emily," it said. "I know we've never really talked, but I just wanted to say thank you. You standing up changed everything. Brian finally cut ties. We're moving. We're free. Thought you should know." I read it once. Then again. And that's when the tears finally came. Not from sadness. Not even from anger. But from something else. Something that felt unfamiliar but real. Relief. I wasn't alone. It hadn't all been for nothing. And just when I thought I'd had my fill of surprises, something even stranger showed up, an actual letter. Real envelope. Real paper. No return address. Inside, a single line. Written in shaky cursive. "You were never the problem. I'm sorry I didn't speak up." No name. No signature. But I knew exactly who it was. Kelly. Nate's cousin's wife. The one who barely spoke at gatherings. Who always looked like she was holding her breath through every meal. I smiled. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need apologies. But wow, did it feel good to be seen. 3 weeks later, I ran into Nate. Of all places, in front of the frozen peas at the grocery store. He looked thinner. Unshaved. Like the weight of all those years of family drama had finally caught up and crushed him. Emily, he said, voice low. Cautious. I didn't say anything. I heard about the audit, he continued. Cheryl's panicking. Rachel might lose her car. I raised an eyebrow, waited. He hesitated. Then finally said, I know I should have defended you. I shook my head. You should have stood with me, I corrected. Not defended me like I was some charity case. He flinched. I thought staying neutral would make things easier, he said. For who? I asked. He didn't answer. After a long pause, he said, if you ever need anything. I won't, I cut him off. But thanks. Then I grabbed my peas, turned around, and walked away. And just like that, he became what I should have let him be a long time ago. A stranger I once passed in a shared aisle. Today, it's been 4 months. The case is still ongoing, but the damage? That's all on them now. My credit's clean. My accounts are locked. My name is my own again. I'm freelancing full-time. And you know what? I've never been more solvent or more savage. I take vacations alone now. I make dinner in peace, and somehow it tastes better than anything that ever came out of Cheryl's kitchen. I buy fresh flowers every Friday, not for a holiday. Just because I damn well feel like it. I'm not keeping receipts anymore. Not for anyone. The old me? She died the day they laughed about making me sit on the floor. The new me? She doesn't beg for a seat. She builds her own table, and only invites people who bring their own chairs, their own plates, and most importantly, their respect. Because family isn't blood. It's boundaries. And now that I've drawn mine, I'm finally free.